When was the first time that you truly felt seen or you truly felt represented? Because now you're a part of building that for other people, but what was it for you?
Ooh, that's a wonderful question. For disability, I will say, and a wheelchair user, I don't know if I've ever felt seen or represented because I've seen a Black woman with a disability who was a wheelchair user in film, TV, commercials. I don't remember ever seeing it and be like, oh my God, there she is.
Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of What It's Really Like with me, your host, Molly Burke, where we have conversations with interesting people with unique perspectives. And I am so excited to have my girl, Miss Lolo Spencer, here with me.
Yeah.
Lolo, for those who don't know,
Yes.
who is Lauren Lolo Spencer?
Oh my gosh, what a question with such a jam-packed answer. So I'm an actor, speaker, author, and content creator dedicated to rewriting the narrative of what it means to live with a disability. And so I've been doing this for the past 10 plus years, and I'm just still on the mission every day.
So one thing that I often talk about when I talk about my journey as a disabled content creator is that like way back 12 years ago when I first started, there was just like this small handful of us trying to make it happen.
Yes.
And Miss Lolo
Yes.
was one of those small people trying to make it happen.
Yes.
Like it was just like basically like me, you, like Ricky
Tommy
Pointer,
Edison.
Tommy Edison,
Yes.
Lucy Edwards. Like there was just like literally globally, Fashionista. There was just like truly the smallest handful of us.
Annie Elaney, literally.
That was it. It was just us all being like, we're gonna make it happen. We deserve to make this happen. And here we are. We're still here doing it, Lolo.
And I think that's the part that's so wild. Is like when I think about that early group of us, it's like we're still here and we're still making content. There's so many people who is like making content now. Like, and I don't want to sound like I mean, I guess to a degree there was a pioneering that we did, but to just know that so many more people are here now, and like where we came from, and like being the first to do panels at VidCon. That's where we initially met.
Yeah.
Was
2016.
Just us. 2016, that's 10 years ago.
I know.
Isn't that wild?
It's wild. Like it's come so far, and we're gonna get through the whole journey here today.
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
But like it truly has come so far, and it's incredible to see how many disabled content creators there are today.
Yes.
And like to feel like in any way we played a small role in creating that place for them.
That part.
Is just like so humbling.
Yes.
And like one of the things I'm most proud of.
Agreed.
Is being like there's disabled content creators today.
Yeah.
Who are making a full-time living. People who could be living on government assistance.
Yes.
Struggling to get by. They are making a full-time living, educating society, breaking stereotypes, doing all these incredible things, and they might not even have ever heard of Lolo or Molly.
Yeah.
But we know that we were a part of like carving this path, creating this space for them to exist on the platforms.
Absolutely.
And like it's like you said, it's hard to say like trailblazer or pioneer because like, we're trained to be so humble.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like we did do that.
We were
and, like,
that first group.
Yeah.
We genuinely were one of the first to do it. And obviously there were like other people even before us, but I just feel like it was the group of us were like the first ones to really be like, we're here and we're not going anywhere. Like this isn't a hobby for us. Like we genuinely are wanting to teach people about this lifestyle and how to exist. What if your disability relates to me or if it relates to you? Like it didn't matter. And it was just really about advocating as a whole. And I agree. Like it's so beautiful to see how many people and so many people have surpassed me and like followers and impact and everything else that I'm like, hell yeah. And we need more and we want more. And just to know that this is a space now where disabled people could really share their stories, share what they're like, and then to know that the community is watching and they're paying attention to what we're doing, and their personal lives, even if they're not a content creator, has been improved because of what we're creating. Like the amount of DMs from other people with disabilities, from parents with children of disabilities, literally sending messages like, because of your content, I feel more confident about myself. I can do this. Literally like brings me to tears every time. Because I'm like, holy shit, we're really out here doing this. Because sometimes we get so caught up in the work of it all that we forget, like, we're still affecting people's lives, like in real time. It's fascinating stuff.
And not just lives, but like culture in ways, right? Like the way that we're seeing mainstream media slowly, so goddamn slowly, but surely starting to like represent a little more accurately.
Yes.
It's like that's because of what we as disabled creators have done through social media.
Yes.
And it's just, I don't know, like it's so incredible, and truly like those DMs that you're talking about are so much more rewarding than a paycheck could ever be, because
every time
you and me are doing this because we grew up in times when we had nada. Like we both became disabled in our teens. And neither of us had any representation to speak of. We did not have anywhere to turn to. And so like to do this today and hear from young people who were like our age when we went through this trauma and transition, and they're having this easier time learning to love and accept themselves and believing that they can be successful and fabulous and live the life they want with disability in a way that like it took me so long to get there.
Absolutely.
Because of no representation. It's just like, oof, gives me chills. Like
literally
the best.
It's just like every time I see a commercial or a film or a TV show and there's someone in a wheelchair or someone with a different disability or whatever the case is, I'm like, holy shit, it's happening. Like it's really happening. Needs to happen much faster and much quicker. We need more.
We need a lot more.
We need more. Absolutely. But I think being able to be here to witness that shift and that growth of it happening, like you said, it's just like there's no paycheck that's big enough for that. And it really is like the most beautiful thing to be a part of that I never expected it. I honestly didn't even expect it to turn into this. Like when I started, like I just wanted to show like there's the other side of disability that isn't sad. It's not depressing. Like, you know, although that is very real, very much so exists to this day, even with me, right? It's still battling with like, oh, well, if I wasn't in a wheelchair, whatever it is.
Right.
But being able to show that there is another side that exists was so important to me to share that I didn't expect it to turn in acting career and a book and fucking so many more people on in so many different social media platforms. Like, was there Instagram in 2016? Like, barely. Not what it is today.
Not what it is today. I mean, like, short form video didn't exist. TikTok, Musical.ly, none of that was around. It was like Vine, Snapchat, nothing. It was like, there wasn't Instagram stories. It was just like main feed photos. Yeah, like
literally, like and that's all it was at that time. But
we could have never imagined what it would become.
Like a whole career? Like a whole career? Like that's wild to think about. And it's like, and when I ever tell the story, like when I started my YouTube channel, I always say like it was at a time where it's like there was like rumblings of people being able to make a career on YouTube, but it wasn't like guaranteed now where we know it. Like if you just put in enough work, you'll be able to just like make hella money off of social media. It wasn't like that back then. So it was like we were just doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, in the 10 plus years we've both been doing this, like things have changed so much. But to understand where you are today in your life and your career, we got to go way back to the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
What was young Lolo like? What was your childhood like?
My childhood was amazing. honestly, like, I come from a huge family. My family is very musical as well. So it's like my grandfather, he was a saxophone player. Saxophone is what I said.
I love. Look, literally, I was watching that clip
I
on your
know.
podcast Instagram, and it was so funny. Lolo said that her grandpa, when she was doing this clip for her podcast, said her grandpa was a saxophone player.
I said saxophone. Jillian will
Girl,
not
you
agree
said
with
saxophone.
it.
I heard it. I actually replayed. I like went back to I was like, I gotta rehear that saxophone player.
I love that. That is so hilarious. Well, I'm saying this here very clearly, saxophone player.
You'll never make that mistake twice.
I will never make that mistake twice. So literally my grandfather, he was a saxophone player. So my childhood was like going to see him perform with him and his bands, and like my aunts and uncles dancing on the dance floor, my mom, and like that's just what I was used to. So I come from a huge family of performers, of musicians. And so my childhood was lit. Like I got to play, I got to be creative, I used to build like cardboard houses in my backyard. Like who knew that I was like about that unhoused life? Like who knew? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just like I was doing that. I was watching music videos, doing dance routines with my sister because my sister was a dancer. So it's just like, it was really lit. I had a bunch of friends, and I can honestly say, I feel like I lived my childhood at the age that I was supposed to be at that time. You know how like some people say like, oh, you know, when I was 14, I was in the clubs. No, when I was 14, I was doing like 14-year-old shit. Like, you know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah, you didn't like grow up too fast.
No, I literally, my innocence like stayed intact like as long as possible until I became an adult. And
If
then things
only we could all have that. If only we could all have that.
Yeah.
Well, I love that for you.
Thank you.
And then obviously at some point,
yeah.
things began to change.
Yeah.
What was the first indication in your life that something was going on with your body?
Yeah, so I didn't have the language for it at the time, but I used to, so at my elementary/middle school, because it was all the same campus, the middle schoolers, we used to play street hockey. And so I used to be out there like hitting the stick and the ball and all that other shit or whatever. And I noticed that like out of nowhere, I couldn't play as long as I had used to. Like I was getting tired. And the best words that I could use was like, my legs just started to feel woozy. Like I was just like, oh, my legs are so woozy. I got to sit down now. Like, oh, I'm so tired. I got to sit down. And then, I remember the memory that sticks in my head is my mom had called us into the kitchen to say, you know, dinner time, make your plate. And I reached up with my right arm to grab the plate out of the top cupboard, and my whole arm just dropped to the counter, but I didn't drop the plate. And that's what that confusion like threw me off, that I was like, wait, I felt my entire arm, like my body shifted and everything, but the plate didn't drop. And I was like, what the hell is that? But I kind of ignored it. And then it was like in my brain, I just jump cut to going to doctor after doctor after doctor for like a year, like trying to figure out like what was going on. And then ended up getting a final diagnosis at UCSF for ALS. And that's how that happened.
It's so interesting that ALS has been your diagnosis. I think that would surprise a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Because we all have a very specific image in our heads of what ALS is, what it looks like. And for most of us, we think of it as being something that's pretty fast acting and is ultimately a terminal diagnosis.
100%.
So when you and your family received that diagnosis, and you obviously did not know how your life was going to look from then on.
Yeah.
Like what did they say to you about what to expect?
You know, the interesting part is my mom never told me what to expect. So when my mom finally told me, and I didn't learn this until I wrote my book, when I had to ask my mom to kind of start filling in the blanks, because I was like, well, Mom, what was your perspective on these things? So the memory that I have is I remember it was a doctor's visit, And it was me, my mom, my sister, my stepdad, my biological father, and my grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side. And we all went to UCSF on this day, which for me, I kind of was like, why is everybody coming this time? Because it used to just be me and my mom for like a year and some change. And so everyone came, and at the office, I was put into one room, and then they all went into a separate room. Again, it kind of was like, why are they doing that? But I was like, oh, maybe it's like an adults conversation because my sister is older than me or whatever. So I was like, oh, maybe this is just like a grown folks thing. And I remember like probably like an hour later, my sister comes into the room. She's like, okay, Lauren, we're all ready to go. And so I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, I didn't even see the doctor this time around or whatever. And I remember we went into kind of like the lobby area of the floor at the doctor's office. And my grandparents were in one corner. My mom was like somewhere else. And then my dad's were in a completely separate corner. I'm like, why is everybody like separated? Like, what the hell is going on? Come to find out, that was the appointment where the doctor told my family. And so they all had their visceral reactions to the news because the doctors told them, hey, you're going to have to start getting prepared that in a few years, like, Lauren isn't going to be here. And my family just was not having that. Like, they reacted like my mom had already known the news, but she wanted the doctors to tell them because I don't know, because it was new. So I think my mom just kind of wasn't sure of the full language of like how to explain it. And then my mom said that after that appointment, she just observed me for like a week straight. And she saw that I was laughing and I was jumping everywhere and I was playing and watching music videos. Like I was just being my lively self. And she said that she wasn't going to share that side of the story. She was just going to tell me what the diagnosis was and then just pray and trust God that whatever was supposed to happen next was supposed to happen next. And that's literally what happened. And she just told me. And all I knew was like I was diagnosed with ALS. And that was it. And because I had no understanding of it, I didn't even have a reaction to it either. And then I ended up looking it up on my own online. And that's where I learned about it being terminal and only 5 years and all that other shit. And I was like, oh no. That if for some reason, like I just knew, I was like, oh no, that's not going to happen to me. Absolutely not. I was like, I still got to get a boyfriend. I still got to go to college. I still got to get my own house. Like, no. And
girls got things to do.
Girls got things to do. So literally, I've carried that attitude all these years.
You're like, won't be me.
It won't be me. And literally been holding on to that belief. And to this day, it's like nobody else can tell me anything. Like it's just not gonna happen that way.
You have delulued your way into surviving and thriving.
Literally,
with
like
ALS.
Literally, delulu, faith, God, all of that mixed together is literally the reason why I'm here today. I fully believe that.
How long ago was your ALS diagnosis?
So I will be 39 in July. So 39 minus 14 is 25 years.
So you've lived for 25 years with a diagnosis that held a 5-year life expectancy.
Yes. Yes.
Incredible. For those who don't know, what is ALS?
So ALS is a neuromuscular condition where basically the messages from your brain that go to your spinal cord to tell your body to move, those messages get attacked. They say there's no cause and no cure. It just is like something that comes up. And so because those messages get attacked, your body loses muscle strength and muscle mass over time. And because of that deterioration, that's typically how people end up transitioning.
I remember I found out about ALS for the first time 12 years ago when the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge was the big thing. And that was the first YouTube video I ever posted.
Oh, stop it.
Was me doing the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
Stop it. Oh my God, how cool. You know what's so interesting about that? I didn't ever do that. I never did the ice bucket challenge because I was like, why am I throwing ice on me? And everybody like,
You're like, I already got it. It's,
you know what I mean? Like they
can do
already
it.
said that it was the diagnosis, like, you know? And so I was just like, nah, I ain't finna do that. I don't even like the cold.
Yeah,
So
like you guys can do it to help me. I
Right.
don't need to be the one doing it.
that part. And I think that's the thing is like, because I've lived with a diagnosis, and that's why like I'm very particular with words, and I've never said like I have. I always say I was diagnosed because diagnoses can change over time. Things happen, and I do truly feel like something else might be going on that isn't quite that. I just don't know what it is. And I've done my own little bit of investigation, but you know, I'm still tinkering around.
So have you like continued to try to go to doctors and like verify this diagnosis, because you have had such a different trajectory than the
Yes.
expectation of ALS? What's your exploration been like of trying to figure out like, is this the actual diagnosis?
Yeah. So the first time I tried again, the doctor was like very dismissive, and I didn't like that. And so just what he had to say, I just was not trying to hear it. And then the second time, which was kind of more recently, like a couple of years ago, the doctor had come in and she did like this test where like you test your strength and you got to grip this, grip that. And then the thing she said to me, she said, well, it tracks. And I was like, you ain't finna scan nothing. You ain't finna take a blood test. You're not finna, it's been 20 something years. Like, has something else maybe came up that ain't it, but maybe tracks? Like, the fuck, bitch? Like, that's literally how I felt. So she was just like, well, we can do this other test. I'm sorry, I didn't even ask if I could cuss. Can I cuss? Okay,
Go
cool.
for it.
She was like, well, we can do this other, I think it's called an EMG test, where they like poke you with needles and then send like a little electric wave to kind of like test the reaction of your muscles. After that test, she's like, well, there's some things that make sense, but then there's other things that don't. How about we do some more tests and stuff like that? And I was just like, okay, but then lost health insurance. So there's that.
Oh, we love it. We love the health insurance.
You know, then that ends up being its own thing. And so if I could be completely honest, there's like a deep part of me that feels like I still haven't met the right doctor that wants to find out. Because I feel like I want a doctor to just like test my gut, get some juices out of my brain, do something. Like, not that I want to do any surgeries because I'm terrified, but do something else. Like, is it parasites? I don't fucking know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the one that's like interested in all the things. Like, I don't dismiss holistic practices either. Like, I'm open to it. I just want someone who's really gonna be like, I really want to figure this out, like, deeply. You know what I mean? So because I haven't met that person, I just kind of feel like I'm just gonna go as best as I can.
Right. And at the end of the day, like, it's not changing your life, right? Like, this is your life. This is your reality right now.
Yeah.
This is the life you've been living for a long time.
Yeah.
A diagnosis is comforting in that it gives you access to community and understanding.
Right.
But at the same time, it doesn't actually change your lived reality day to day.
Exactly. Unless there is some sort of like medication that does heal or stop a symptom or slow it down altogether or whatever the case is, like I would be open to that. But it's just like without knowing it officially, it's just like I'm also not the one that's just going to be popping pills just because a doctor told me to. Like I'm on no medications, never have been. I only pop ibuprofen when I'm on my period. Like that's like the most that I do ever. Except like the one time that I did get injured. But then after that, even when I was in the hospital, I was like, stop giving me this stuff. I don't want it. And I was fine.
Do you have like a gut instinct of what you think it might be? Or like from your little Google searching, chat with ChatGPT, like has there been anything that's felt like you've read the symptoms and you're like, that feels like me?
That's a wonderful question. Speaking truthfully, I've never even like dug into it. Like I'm in such my own
fascinating
land in my brain of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And for me, because I know I deal with anxiety, I don't want to learn some shit that I can't unlearn. So it's almost like a certain level of ignorance is bliss that I've just kind of accepted about myself, that I'm like, I'm not going to dig in any deeper. But like, if a video comes across my timeline and somebody's like, hey, check this out, this kind of sounds like you, I'll watch it. But I'm not going, like you said, like, I'm not like deeply trying to figure it out, because I really do, like, I'm good with where my body is at right now. I'm happy about it. There are some like natural pills that I take, but they're like insanely expensive. And are they working or not? I don't know. Like, those kinds of things you don't know until time goes by. But something about them feels right. So I just take it. A lot of it really is like gut instinct on my decisions, which I know sounds wild to a lot of people, but it's just my truth. It's the way that comforts me.
Look, whatever works for you works for you.
Yeah.
And we all have to get better at living a life where we don't judge. Like,
Yeah.
that is, everybody's entitled to do whatever the hell feels right to them.
Absolutely.
And like, it's so wild to me the way like people say, like, get upset when I say that I don't want to seek a cure for my disease.
Yeah.
And it's like, people get upset with me and I'm like, dude, it doesn't freaking impact you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you're upset to let me live my life as a blind person.
Literally.
Like, why does that impact you? Like, if you had this situation and you wanted to seek a cure, I'm so pleased for you.
Literally.
That ain't me.
Literally.
Like, live and let live. Live and let live. We all just need to stop being in everybody else's business.
That's it. And I think it's okay to just, like, again, like, if I found something tomorrow that was like, yeah, we could reverse all of this shit, I'm gonna try it. Like, I'm just gonna try it just out of curiosity. Like, why not? You know what I mean? But it's just like, at the same time, I'm not so entirely pressed about it that I'm like,
that you're like desperate to
right. I'm
find
not
it.
desperate. I'm not staying up at night. Like, I'm not pissed at life. I'm not screaming at God about it. Like, I'm chilling. Like, genuinely, like, I'd be so chill, girl. Like, it's crazy.
Well, on these 25 years that you've
Yes.
been living with this diagnosis,
Yes.
what did your trajectory look like? Because ALS
Yeah.
is a progressive condition, right?
Correct.
So like, you're continually losing strength.
Yes.
What did that look like for you through those early years, and where is that progression at today?
Wonderful question. So in high school, the first thing that I got were, again, I did not know the language at the time, but what they're called is AFOs, which are like the leg braces. And at the time, I just called them my Forrest Gump legs, because that was like the closest representation of that I had ever seen. So I had these AFOs in high school to help me walk around my high school campus. And they essentially like slid inside of my shoe and helped me lift my ankle so I didn't trip over my feet. Then when it was time to move, because I'm originally from Stockton, California, moved to LA, which is like a 5-hour drive or whatever. When I moved to LA and decided to go to college, I was like, well, there's no physical possible way I'm going to be able to make it on a college campus with just my AFOs. So I decided to use a motorized wheelchair. And so since then, I predominantly use my motorized wheelchair, especially when leaving my house. Ever since my injury at the end of 2023, I've been using a walker, just around like my apartment. And that's like pretty much where it's been. There's been certain things that I've noticed, like before I was able to like boost myself out of the backseat of like a low sitting car. Can't really do that anymore in the way that I used to be able to. But I think a lot of that ends up being because if I'm not actively doing that motion, then naturally like the strength just kind of like wears itself off. In my personal observation, I ain't no doctor, so they'll probably explain it better. But that's kind of like what I noticed for me. And it's just like, in college, I used to be able to like squat over a public toilet and pee, you know what I mean? But like now I don't do that anymore because I'm like, I don't want to risk pissing on myself. So I have to sit down with the covers. Y'all better be using covers out there. But with the covers.
I don't use the covers. I can't see them. I can't find them.
Okay, you're the exception.
But I wipe the seat before and after.
Okay.
Because I ain't trying
Then
to
have
sit in
some
somebody
Clorox.
else's pee.
Have some Clorox wipes with you and then wipe it down because it's a dirty place.
Mm.
And because
Honestly, as a blind person going into public bathrooms, nothing's more scary. Nothing is more scary beyond just like the fact that I have to try to get in there on my own and like figure out the goddamn landscape.
Right.
And they all look different.
Right.
But then I get in there and like, girl, I don't know if there's somebody's like unflushed poop. I don't know if there's like some spray.
Fuck.
I don't know shit. And that is foul to me. And there has been enough times in my 32 years on this earth where I have gone in with like my mom or a friend and they've like opened the stall. I'm like, ooh, not that one.
Right.
And that is in the back of my head every damn time that I go in alone.
Yeah.
And go,
I get it.
I don't know if I shouldn't be going to this one or not, but I don't have a choice. I gotta go.
I get it. And sometimes we do have to deal with that, which is unfortunate. And that's the thing, is like, if a toilet is like too out of pocket, I won't sit on it even with the covers. Cause I'm like, I cannot deal. But those are like the little things that have like changed over time. Like if I really tried to squat over a toilet, I probably could, but I'm like, I don't even want to put my body through that.
Not risk it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So those are like the little things that have shifted. And I've had my moments where I feel like I think something is changing in my body and it scares the living daylights out of me or whatever. But then I just have to like tell myself like, Lauren, everything's going to be okay no matter what happens. Everything's working out for your greater good. Like I literally have to like talk myself off of a ledge sometimes because it's scary. It is scary.
Well, and my condition is progressive as well. So, like, I, had progressive vision loss. And it is one of those weird things where, like, I totally understand that, like, is that changing? Isn't it? Like, it's so weird. And then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, no, yeah, it definitely did change. Like, there has to be this, like, level that it clicks over.
Yeah.
That you're like, no, I definitely used to be able to see that.
Yeah.
Or no, I definitely remember I used to have that strength.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, it did change. But then there's those like moments in between where you're like, is it? Isn't it? I don't know. Like, because things are so subtle and so slow that it's like hard to notice.
Yeah.
Until it's significant enough of a change.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like sometimes I don't even recognize the change until somebody either asks me or I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, well, I guess now that I think about it, I don't do that anymore. Because like for me, anything that has changed is because like I did something else. Like, for instance, the reason I don't boost myself out of a car anymore is because now they have wheelchair vans, when before, through Uber and Lyft.
Right.
When before, I was just taking a regular Uber and Lyft assist car, and so I had to push myself out. But since now I didn't have to push myself out, I just was staying in my chair. But I think over time, having not doing that motion...
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly that. So I would say those have been like the changes that I've noticed over the years.
No, I feel that. I feel like sometimes I have had that situation where like other people notice that I can't see as much more than I notice.
Yeah.
And they're like, I can tell you've lost more vision. I'm like, oh, so that's so interesting to me because we're in our own body every day.
Yeah.
So like, it's harder for us to notice sometimes versus somebody who doesn't see us for like 3 years.
Right.
And then they see you and they're like, I'm clocking it's changed.
Right.
Because to them, it's more significant because it's been this period of time.
Right.
Whereas for you, that's been that slow progression that whole time.
Exactly. And sometimes my friends will say, and there's certain things that I do that my friends were like, wait a minute, since when are you able to lift this or move like that? And I'm just like, oh, word? Like, I thought I've always been able to do this. And they'd be like, no, bitch, like, no, that's different. Like, so to your point, I think that's also why the importance of community is so big, because people are there to kind of track what's happening when you're not paying attention as much.
Mm-hmm. So predominantly for you, it's like muscle weakness that you've seen progress mostly in your legs and feet?
Yeah, I would say mostly like waist down, legs. My right arm has always, ever since high school, was like the one limb, I guess you can say, that really never quite recovered all the way. So I would say like it's mainly just been like waist down from from what I remember.
And is that why you opted for a motorized chair instead of manual because of your right arm?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. That's why I use the motorized chair. And because with the condition, they say, you don't want to over fatigue because the recovery of the muscle doesn't happen at the same rate as everybody else. So I didn't want to use a manual chair and then fatigue myself to the point where like there is no recovery.
Right.
So yeah. So I just use the electric, which is like way better and way easier. And to be honest, just like I understand why like manual wheelchair users like use manual chairs. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, y'all can get up on this electric one too. Like, don't force yourself. Like, you know what I mean? But again, everyone has their reasons for why they use a particular device. But I love electric chairs. They're so much easier.
I feel like it's so funny, like within the disability community, there is like this hierarchy, or there is like so much internalized ableism of like, well, if I use this, it means I'm not as disabled as if I use this. Like if I use a walker, I'm not as disabled as if I used a wheelchair. Or if I use a manual wheelchair, I'm not as disabled as if I used a motorized wheelchair. And it's like these weird mental gymnastics that we as disabled people do.
Yeah.
Or like with a cane or a guide. Well, I only use the cane sometimes and I don't need a guide. Like there's just like these weird things that we do ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's like the amount of people in my community that use Zoom on their phone and they struggle so much and they give themselves eye pain and they give themselves headaches and they're holding their phone right up to their damn face and they're struggling so much. And I'm like, you could use the screen reader, right?
Yeah.
Like, the screen reader's there for you.
Yeah,
You
like
can
it's
use
designed
it
for that reason.
It's easier, I promise.
Yeah.
And like again, it's that mental like, well, if I use voiceover, I'm like more blind than if I use Zoom. And it's like you're the same level of blind. Like it's fine. It's not changing anything. It's just a tool. But like even within our own communities, these tools hold different levels of stigma.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why like I like talking about like my reality and like giving encouragement to just exist with your disability the way that you want to. Because for me, I've always advocated for ease. Like I've always been telling people like, baby, don't make life harder than it needs to be. Just do what you got to do. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I do understand like when people are really trying to figure out like, how do I accept this? Because more people than not, I feel like end up acquiring their disabilities at later ages versus just like being born with it. And so I think when you are at that stage where you remember jumping around and what it feels like to play or what it feels like to dance or move or walk or whatever the case is, making that transition over to realizing like, oh shit, like what I remember in my head is not materializing in reality right now. This is a lot for me to figure out. So I'm still trying to hold on to some sort of function that I remember used to being able to do without any help. And people really hold on to that for like dear life, and understandably so. But that's why it's like, I feel like with the way that we create content and being able to say like, hey, y'all ain't got to do it like this if you don't want to. Like don't make it harder on yourself. Like please, like that's the kind of comfort that I really hope like whoever is following me and is like in the same position or something similar, that they realize like, okay, well, if Lolo says like it's fine, like I'm not going to beat myself up over it.
I always say like I don't need to be a martyr. Like I don't need to make my life harder to prove I can do it.
That part.
I just simply don't feel that. Like
literally.
I will accept all the accommodations I need. I will accept all the support and help that I need to live my life to the fullest. And it is the only reason I've been able to be as successful as I've been.
Agreed.
And like my parents really instilled that in me.
Yeah.
They were like, you can do whatever the hell you want, but you don't have to do it all.
That part.
And like you can focus on being great at some things instead of okay or good at everything.
That part.
And my dad used to always say like he, worked in business and he would always kind of give me these business life lessons.
Yeah.
And he would say like, top CEOs delegate. Like the top CEO is at the top of his game and he ain't doing everything. Like, he's
Mhm.
delegating to other people. And the best people in business, they succeed because they know they're not good at everything, and they find the people they can surround themselves with who are.
Literally
And, like,
that.
he was like, that can be your life. You can build life like that. And, like, I truly, like, for me, that
Mhm.
thing, like, one of those things is cooking.
Mhm.
Cooking has always been something that no matter how many life skills classes I take, no matter how many cooking classes for the blind I do, no matter how many blind people I meet who are incredible chefs,
Yeah.
it does not change that for me, Molly, this blind individual,
Yeah.
cooking gives me hella anxiety.
Mhm.
It stresses me out so much. The knives, the sharp things,
Yes.
the heat, the flame, the
Yeah.
fire, the burning hot liquids, like
Yeah.
all of that shit gives me too much anxiety. I don't want to cook meat not well enough and then I'm getting myself salmonella. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm just like, none of this is worth it to me.
Yeah.
And I do not need to cook to prove to myself or to anybody else that I, Molly, am a capable, independent, confident, blind woman.
That
I
part.
just simply don't need to.
That
And
part.
I'm not going to put myself through that stress daily because guess what? We got to eat 3 times a day.
Yeah.
I'm not
Facts.
going to put myself through that every day just to be like, I can.
Girl, listen. When I tell you, I immediately resonate with everything that you say because that's how I think about it too. I'll never forget, I was reading an interview of Clive Davis, and Clive said that he hires around his weaknesses. And ever since, I was like, oh, light bulb. I'm going to do the same thing. I've said this on my podcast with Jillian before. Shout out to the We've Been Like This podcast. Literally said the reason I want to be disgustingly rich is so I can afford to have a chef 24/7 and a driver 24/7 because the two things I'm never going to know how to do very well is cook and drive. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to learn. I don't give a fuck about a class. It's just not what I want for my life.
Yep.
And I don't care. And it does not make me less of a valuable woman because I don't know how to cook and all this other shit. It does not make me less of capable or whatever the fuck it is. Like, this is just my reality and I'm going to hire around those things. So if I need to fucking hustle as hard as I can within my capability and scope of doing so now so I can get my driver and my chef, oh, please believe I'm going to do it.
Look, and if there's anybody I want to be filthy rich, it is a beautiful Black disabled woman. Like, that is who deserves in this world to be filthy rich and live in your beautiful, accessible home and have your driver and your chef. And I truly feel like for me, I went through so many years of living with shame and guilt and embarrassment around the fact that I could not cook. And I felt like it did make me less of a woman. I felt like it did make me less of a confident, independent, disabled person. And then I got to the point of realizing, like, looking around at my friends and being like, hold up. You're sighted.
Yeah.
You're not disabled. Like, you don't cook. So
girl?
why am I making myself feel bad when we look at you as a non-disabled woman who can't cook and we're just like, oh, she chooses not to cook. But we look at me as a blind woman and we say, oh, she can't cook.
Right.
And it's like, no. I also just made the same choice that she made, but she gets to make it and it's just fine because she's not disabled. But I make it and I'm disabled and all of a sudden it's because I'm disabled and I'm an embarrassment to the community or I'm letting people down or I'm less valuable because, oh, see, she's disabled and she can't do everything. It's like, no,
Girl.
I don't need to do everything to be a good disabled person.
Let me tell you something. If that is not one of the realest things that you said, I'm telling you, I have friends, especially when it comes to dating, that holds me accountable to say, like, Lauren, what you're asking for, the support you need is not extraneous. It is not the word strenuous. It's not strenuous of what you're asking. Me, as a fully functioning, non-disabled woman, I'm still not cooking every day. I don't know how to ride a dick like a porn star. I don't know how to do this, that, and the third. Like, and here's the thing, I'm not gonna do it. And just because men, they lift heavy shit and they take out the trash and all this other stuff, just because you need it versus me choosing not to want to do it does not make the act itself any different from what's happening. And so you stop beating yourself up for not being able to show up as this Wonder Woman, Superwoman person because you have a disability. Like, no, me as a fully non-disabled woman, I don't even be doing that shit. I be making my husband do that shit, or I be making my man do that shit. And I can do it, but I just don't fucking want to. My husband is the one that cooks all the time. Like, you know what I mean? And so those are the things that I have to remember. And I actually made a video about this once, where it's like the help that I need, I know there are certain things that are different. Like, sure, you got to put my wheelchair in your car, or you got to, help me.
That's such a huge ask.
Such a huge ask that you didn't see coming when you first met me. Like, what are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying? And it's not to say that our partners should always be like our main caregivers or our main providers or whatever the case is, but there is a certain way that your partners have to show up for you that's different than maybe if they had a non-disabled partner. But here's the gag. Even when they have non-disabled partners, there's ways that they're showing up for them
that we don't need.
That we don't need.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Period.
So, girl, child, that is a tangent I can go down.
Oh, no, I know. Trust me. You and me, we can tangent all day long because truly, like, I got to this place of realizing, like, I don't need to stress myself out to do something to prove to myself that I can.
Yes.
Like, there's things that I'm like, yeah, I know that if I, gun to my head, needed to, I could do it.
Right.
Am I going to do it every day? No, because it takes like more time, energy, effort, and stress and anxiety than it is worth. Right. And I could allocate that time into doing something that is more productive and more valuable for me, for my life, for my family, for my unit, for society.
Yes.
And like that's where I'm going to allocate my energy.
Absolutely.
And like I feel so fortunate that I have a partner who like all the time reaffirms that in me. And he's like,
period.
Molly, I know you can do this.
Yeah.
But I can do it. It's nothing for me to do it.
Right.
And it takes you like a little bit of extra time and extra energy that I just don't think you need to do. Yeah. So like, I'll just do it because it's nothing for me to do it.
Literally.
And to know that I get to support you in that way and make your life easier by doing that makes me feel good. And I'm like,
my God.
If only every disabled woman could have these partners. Because the men exist. They do exist,
They
folks.
do exist. And I am staying hopeful of it. I am staying hopeful of it. I promise you, like, this is the first time. We were talking about this off camera. Like, this is the first time in my life that I can genuinely say, no matter what kind of man I run into or come across on an app or whatever the case is, I'm not letting up on knowing that they exist. The kind of man that I know I need, that I know the good Lord created just for me, is out there. And I am determined to make it happen. Not in like no desperation kind of way, because I ain't just out here doing whatever with whoever. But
you've waited long enough. You ain't desperate.
You see what I'm saying?
Waiting for the right one.
I'm just waiting for the right one, and I'm going to attract that one. And I'm not going to settle for anything less than I know actually exists. And that's been the biggest thing for me, like especially as a disabled woman, is I am not going to let up on something that I know exists, because I know what I'm asking for is not a lot. Right. It's different. It's different. It may be unexpected. It may be something you've never done before. And I get that. And I give that grace and that patience and that openness, because I'm having to learn who you are as a person. But I'm not letting up on some shit and being like, oh, well, there is no man that's going to do this, so I'm just going to keep struggling even though he's here. Fuck no. It's not happening.
And you're not going to accept the bare minimum. Like, as disabled women or just disabled people dating in general, like we don't need to lower our standards or expectations.
At all.
Like, we do not need to feel lucky to be loved.
Exactly.
And it's hard to not when society is constantly instilling that message in us everywhere we turn, whether it be in media or like literally just in life, like going out with your partner and people saying constantly like, oh, you're so lucky to have him. And it's like, yeah, I am, but also he is lucky to have me, but why doesn't anyone ever say that to him? Like, it's like the world is constantly reminding disabled individuals that we are unlovable, we are not valuable, we are not sexy, we are not desirable, we are not attractive, we are not valuable equal partners, we can't contribute, blah, 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 blah. Like all of this bullshit that they're telling us. And so it's like, it's so hard not to take that on and to like deeply internalize and feel that way.
Yeah.
And like I have battled that. I've battled that feeling of like being a burden and like Why would somebody choose me when they can choose a non-disabled person? Like all of these things,
Girl, literally that. And I'm at the big age of 38, going on 39. And I'm just now finally reminding myself that all those things were never true. And even when I look back on like the men that I've dated, the men that I've gotten involved with intimately, all these different things. And I'm like, you know what? I've never not bagged to find one. You know what I mean? I've never not bagged a man. And so it's just like, when you really like think about it, you're like, what the fuck? Where was that thought coming from? Where was that message coming from that I was living out of and becoming insecure about it when it wasn't even the reality? And this is the first time I had to really sit back and I'm not going to say this on camera, but remember the story I was just telling you about my building. Like, I literally, after that night, I literally looked at myself the next morning and I said, where did you get this idea that these men didn't want you? Where did you get this from? You're tripping. Stop. And literally, it's like, that's the work and the mental, mental gymnastics that I'm doing right now, but just like really letting those messages go because it's just not true.
And look, those messages, like when you do hold those and you internalize them, and I can say this from lived experience, I can say this looking at the statistics, like the reality is holding that keeps you in toxic situations.
Yes.
It puts you at risk for dating violence,
yes,
for assault, for being controlled, manipulated, like whether it's physically, mentally, sexually, emotionally, like
financially.
Financially, absolutely. It puts you in a vulnerable situation, and that mindset keeps you stuck in that vulnerable situation.
100%.
And we don't want that for disabled people, especially for disabled women.
Absolutely.
Like, we need to rewrite the narrative on dating as people with disabilities.
Yes.
And if anybody listening to this is disabled and is still single and dating, like, I really want you to hear this and internalize this. Like, you are enough. You are valuable. You are desirable. You are worthy.
Yes.
And you do not have to accept the bare minimum because you are disabled. Being single is so much better than being with the wrong person who brings you down, who keeps you stuck. And all of this stupid bullshit rhetoric around disabled isn't good enough needs to go out the window, because all that is doing is putting you at risk for being in unhealthy relationships that you do not deserve to be in, because life is hard enough as a disabled person. We don't need somebody toxic bringing us even further down.
Literally that. And I've had my fair share of partners that just were not good at all. And knowing that and recognizing my own worth. And then that was also kind of like during that time when I was with like not so good men and still making content on social media, that was always the reality check. That's why, like, when people, like, when they meet me and they be like, oh, Lolo, I wanted to tell you how much I meant to you, but I didn't want to be weird about it. I'm like, no, keep telling me. Because what you don't know is when I was in that toxic relationship, your guys' messages reminding me of why I do this work, why I'm on this earth, why I'm living the life that I'm living is to help y'all, is what always grounded me to remember, wait, I do deserve more. I'm over here helping literally these strangers, these people I don't know. I don't even know. I'm just making content thinking that is content, but this is really changing somebody's fucking life. And then this motherfucker wants to talk to me crazy? Are you out of your mind? No, I'm not doing it. Not doing it. So that's why it's like, we have to be mindful that we do have worth, and the people that we want in our lives, the partners that we want, they do exist. We just have to really, really start believing it as well. And honestly, like, ever since I've really been like untraining my mind of the old beliefs, baby, it's been happening different this time around. And it's been great.
What we tell ourselves is so, so, so powerful.
Yeah.
And internalized ableism, my God, it is so real.
It
because
is so real.
The world is so damn ableist.
Yes.
And it's like, that is the narrative everywhere you look.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, to make the active choice to rebel against that and be like, I am not going to believe any of that stuff society is telling me, and it goes in waves, right? Like,
Of course.
don't get me wrong. Like,
I still deal with it.
still deal with it. Like, I still struggle with internalized ableism at times, and I clock myself, and I'm like,
yeah.
what are those able-bodied people getting in your
Right,
head?
right,
What,
right.
like, don't let those non-disabled people get in your head.
Yeah.
And like, I have to, and that is truly why community is so important.
Yes.
Like, having your disabled sisters, having your disabled community around you
Yes.
to remind you and ground you,
Yes.
keep you rooted in the right beliefs.
Yes. Yes, because the gag is, I know more disabled people who are married than non-disabled people. How about that?
And I'm pretty sure, like, I read a statistic many years ago that disabled people are more likely to stay married.
Oh,
Yes.
I love that.
That it's like it can be more challenging to find your person, but once you do find your person,
It
the relationships
sticks.
are like stronger.
Oh, I love that.
Love
oh my
that
God,
for
that's giving me
us.
so much more hope.
We're gonna manifest this for you, Lolo.
Period.
We're
Better
gonna
come in the
find you
form
the
of
right
Michael
man.
B. Jordan or something like it. Get me close, please, Lord.
Yeah, actually, let's just get you the man that will get you the private chef and the driver.
There we go.
So you don't have to even work for it.
You see what I'm saying? Just let me be the creative advocate and be out in the world making a difference, making my content, and then let my man just handle all the other twists and turns of life. Like, I don't want to deal with it. I deal with it because I have to now, but I really want that too. Like, obviously, here's the thing. I love to clean. I'm a clean. I love to scrub a counter. I love a wet wipe. I love a Clorox spray. Like,
I am so here with you.
I love to clean. I love to organize. It just makes my brain fucking breathe. And I'm okay with doing that. But all the other stuff, my man's going to take care of it. Just do it. Just do it. Don't make me think about it. I don't want to think. I'm so tired of thinking. It's so overwhelming.
You're out here doing the Lord's work, helping make the world better. Wouldn't it be so lovely if we could just like do advocacy and not have to worry about it also paying your bills?
Oh my
like,
gosh.
My fiance asked me once, like, if you won the lottery and had like $20-50 million in your bank account and could buy a private island and like just go zen out all the time,
Yeah.
like, would you still feel this intense pressure to do what you do? And I was like, yeah, because it like paying the bills, yes, is a necessity.
Yeah.
But like, that's not why I do what I do.
Exactly.
I'm blessed that it's been able to pay my bills.
Yes.
But I do what I do because this is like a passion and a desire. And at the end of the day, Molly, winning the lottery and getting to rest on a private island.
Yeah.
How the hell can I rest knowing the rest of my community isn't there?
You see what I'm saying?
Knowing the rest of my community is still struggling.
Yeah.
Because I'm not fighting this fight for me, Molly, to succeed.
Literally.
I'm fighting this fight for us to succeed.
Absolutely.
For our community as a whole to be uplifted.
Absolutely.
And to get to move forward.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, no, there's no amount of money you can plop in my account right now that will take away this exhausting pressure to make change.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a few times that in 2023 you had an injury.
Yes.
I didn't know about this. What happened?
So it was a fall in my previous apartment. I was reaching for the blinds and I thought I was close enough to grab them and ended up not. And I fell backwards. I had a very minor fracture in my sacrum, but that injury, for some reason, and it wasn't anything that I needed surgery for, thank God, but that injury sent me into a mental space that I have never, ever in my life experienced. I've never dealt with anxiety at that level. I was dealing with real insomnia, literally up for 72 hours straight. Like, I felt like I was literally losing my sanity in so many ways. And it was the scariest time of my life. But what I will say is, like, coming out on the other end of it, I've had a whole other level of self-awareness that I had never had before. It was like all of my deepest, darkest fears that I maybe suppressed because I've always been like this positive person and everything else, all uprooted itself during that mental breakdown. Like, it was the wildest, scariest thing I've ever in my life dealt with. Like, literally, I couldn't even talk about it for so long because it would trigger an emotional reaction. And like, even to this day, like, if I can't sleep, I'm like, I have to literally be like, it's okay, Lauren. Sometimes you just don't get that much sleep. Sometimes you can't get the whole 6 to 8 hours that you usually get. It's totally fine. Like, relax, calm down. Nothing's happening to you. You're not dying. Like, it's literally like this whole thing that I have to remind myself of because of how scary it was. Genuinely.
I had an accident 2 weeks after my 20th birthday.
Mm.
I was at a sound check for a keynote I was giving, and I walked full speed off a 5-foot stage. Total blind girl
Jesus.
moment, and ended up physically injuring myself, but the mental and emotional injury was worse.
Way worse.
I developed PTSD from that,
Mm.
and that was, like, the first time I had to ever go on, like, SSRIs for anxiety and PTSD, and, like, I had previously at 14, like, been suicidal. So the fact that, like, I got through that without SSRIs and
Yeah.
I had to, like, it tells you how bad it was. I was
Yeah.
completely non-functional. I was having 3 anxiety attacks a day minimum. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Like, it was awful.
Yeah.
And in reflecting on, like, why that was so triggering for me,
Yeah.
I think a major part of it was that I had built up this confidence around my ability to navigate as a blind person. And this completely shook that. Like, it made me feel like this thing that I thought I could do safely, I could no longer do safely. And would I ever be able to do it safely again? And I think for me, like, that was just, like, kind of earth-shattering.
Yeah.
And it just, like,
Yeah.
made me question so much. And
Yeah.
it made me feel insecure and unsafe simply walking, like, doing this everyday navigational task.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in reflecting for you, why do you think that accident pulled up so much emotionally, not just physically?
Ooh, that's a wonderful question. When I think back on it, two things. It made me, even though, again, the injury, like you were saying, like the injury itself wasn't even like that bad, but the idea that I could actually hurt myself. I had never hurt myself prior to 2023. Like, sure, I've fallen, but I always was able to get up. I had never hurt myself, never even spent the night in a hospital before 2023. And so when all of those experiences was happening, it was the closest thing to what felt like death that scared the living daylights out of me, and grappling with, like, oh my gosh, is my body getting worse? Am I about to die? Is this how I'm going to go out? Like, it was the wildest thing to experience. And because of the anxiety, and I didn't even know that technically it was anxiety at first. I was just like, why can't I sleep? What is going on? I'm so scared to just lay down again. I'm so scared to go to sleep because I'm like, what if I, don't wake up again? Like, it was like all these other fears that came up as a result of it. And I honestly didn't even understand why. And that was a part that was messing with me the worst. I'm like, why am I behaving this way? And the thing that was even more worse is because, to your point about your identity shattering, it was the same thing with me because I built an entire identity around, loving myself with a disability, and I can do all things, and I'm so positive, and I'm so this, that, and the third, that, like, literally, when I was in my darkest place, I felt like an imposter. I'm like, oh, I don't really feel this way. This can't be true because look at me now. I don't even know how to be anymore. Like, I don't even know who I am anymore without constantly being positive. And being positive wasn't enough.
Yeah, you couldn't positive your way through mental illness.
I could not
No.
positive my way through that. And the only thing, no bullshit, Molly, the only thing that, like, kept me grounded was like, I know that there is more that I'm supposed to do on this earth. There is no way I'm going out like this. Like, it just cannot happen this way. Like, no way. Like, I was thinking about my content. I was thinking about the people's lives that I was affecting. And between that and just upping my faith and my belief in God during that time was the only thing that got me out of that. And then the support of family and friends during that time, of course. But, like, literally, it shattered everything that I thought I was. it brought up the fear of death and injuring myself and being in a hospital. I didn't like being in a hospital. I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen next. Like again, anxiety. It was just all of this, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Why can't I fix it? Why isn't it not working? Why is nothing working? I'm meditating. Ain't I? Like, it was literally that the whole time.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than anxiety. Like, for
Oof.
me, when I am anxious, it is like a living hell in my mind and body. And it's like
Literally.
so physically uncomfortable.
100%.
My anxiety presents so physically.
Mm-hmm.
My PTSD presents so physically.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so hard when you feel out of control.
Yes.
So out of control of your thoughts.
Yes.
And your body.
Yes.
And you're like, what is happening?
And I think with us, especially since we acquired our disabilities at an age where we can remember what life was like before it, is, and I tell this to people all the time, when it comes to disability, I feel like we struggle with control.
Yes.
Because life took something away from us that is out of our control. And
yes.
Every day we leave the house, even when we're inside of our house, my injury happened inside of my house. Like, we can't control it. We can't help it. It's not just like a simple injury anymore. Like, this is some real things that can happen to us now. So everything else that we feel like we can control, we're going to hold on to that for like dear life, because every day we're reminded how not in control we are.
No, that's so real. Like, when I was dealing with the worst of my complex PTSD and anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, and OCD tendencies, and like I was like a whole hot mess. And I was in therapy, and my therapist was like, you are somebody who needs like as much control over your life as possible.
Yeah.
Like, you will just never do well with when you don't have that.
Yeah.
And like that was really my push to quit my job and become an entrepreneur.
Oh, wow.
And like to build my own business that allowed me to have control in my life. Because to your point, like, there's such a lack of control over my circumstance.
Yeah.
And over the way the world treats me, and over the like, our bodies just simply don't do what most bodies do.
Yeah.
And we can't stop that, and we can't change that.
Yeah.
And it means that so much of the rest of our lives have to be changed around it.
Oh my gosh.
To fit. You know? And like, so it's like in any way that and it is a vulnerable feeling.
It's
like
so vulnerable.
Having a physical disability, a sensory disability, is such a vulnerable feeling.
Absolutely.
And so any ways in which you can be independent,
right,
and you can create spaces that make you feel safe, it's so important to have that autonomy.
Absolutely.
Because of the fact that like there simply is less that we can do that for.
Exactly. No, I 100% feel that. And that's why it's so funny, like our stories are so similar. It's like, that's why I decided to start my YouTube channel, because I was working a full-time job at the time. It was the reason I was able to get off of SSI, because I was getting paid enough and I was getting incredible health benefits. But then a boss at that time kind of threatened to fire me based on my performance. And I remember going home that night, I was crying to my mom, and I was like, Mom, I cannot let somebody else have control over my livelihood. I need to do something where I can always have control over how much money I can make, what I'm going to do with my life, how I'm spending my days, because I cannot, at the drop of a hat, that woman who felt like she was doing her job at the time, and granted, sure, she might have been, right? She didn't know that her decision of whether or not she was going to fire me in that moment would have changed the entire trajectory of my fucking future.
Right. Because in a way that it doesn't for non-disabled people.
Exactly.
Like, it simply doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's not life-changing.
Right.
Like, anybody who gets let go of a job that they expected to continue to have, it is life-changing, and it's earth-shattering, and it's scary and terrifying.
Absolutely.
However, there is more opportunity out there for non-disabled people than there is for disabled people.
Absolutely.
And something like having health insurance matters even more for disabled people than for non-disabled people. So it's like, you losing that job isn't just like you losing a job, but the world is your oyster. You can just go get another one.
Right.
No, like, me losing this job means I have very limited options to get another one because workplace discrimination is oh so very real, and means I'm back on government assistance, which is a system designed to keep us oppressed and designed to keep us poor and struggling. Means that I'm without my health care, which means I can't continue to see my doctors for my treatments or my this or my that. Like it does have other implications.
Absolutely. And I think that's why, like, all of what happened at 2023, just all that came up. And I'm just so grateful and blessed that I, am back feeling like myself, and even more of the version of me that I knew I always wanted to be. That's why I'm not playing with my life anymore. Like, not that I've ever was playing with it before, but like this time around, I just feel so much more different about my mission in life, whether it's career, love, finances, whatever the case is. It's like, I'm not playing anymore because I know what it means to be in a dark space. Because even after getting out of the initial, the peak of it all, the come down was still rough. Like, I spent all of 2024, like, barely posting on social media. Like, it changed everything. Like, I still was battling a lot, like, with who I was, how I wanted to represent myself. What does it mean to even do this work anymore? Like, I was questioning everything. And so now I feel like I've just been spending so many more intentional days getting clearer and clearer and clearer on what that vision is for my life. And I'm making intentional decisions to move in that direction. And anything that don't serve that, I'm not even giving it the time of day, because I'm not going in that space ever again. If I, Jesus, don't let it happen again. I beg of you.
It woke you up.
It
did. It woke
did.
you up in a new way.
It really, really did, And I think that's why it's like, it's so important to be mindful of like what we say and how we go about life, and even people's interpretations of how they view us. Because it's like, I don't want y'all to think I've got this hand and foot. It's nothing for me now. I still battle with these things.
Yes.
These things are very real. I don't show them because I don't feel like it's anybody else's business. This is my plight to deal with between me and the loved ones that I trust. Anybody else, this ain't your business to know that I'm crying or I'm breaking down or I'm depressed or I'm anxious right now. That's not your business. I will let you know that I deal with it, but you're not going to see it in real time. And that's where my boundary comes when it comes to social media.
Lord knows, I've cried a million times on the internet.
Yeah, I've definitely cried, but I'm not going to let every cry that I have be like on display.
Oh, certainly not. Certainly not. But I do feel like it's important as people who are further along on our disability journey and have many people watching us who are either younger or who are just newer to disability as a part of their identity. It is so important for me to not just like show the highlight reel of the disability life, but be like, no, I still grieve this.
Yes.
And no, I do still get frustrated by inaccessibility. And know that I am not the perfect self-advocate every time that I get denied access. Or, like, I'm a person navigating this journey.
Yeah.
I've done it long enough that it gets easier year over year.
Yeah.
But, like, disability will always be hard.
Yes.
Being disabled will always be harder than not being disabled.
Period.
If we live in an ableist world that's inaccessible, it will always be harder.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Like, this harder life is also probably way more beautiful than the life I would have had without the disability.
Facts.
And so it's like, life being hard and life being beautiful aren't mutually exclusive.
Come on now. Now you preaching.
Disability can be hard and life can still be beautiful and worth living.
Yeah.
And like, I want to show that full spectrum. I want to show that balance and that harmony, the duality of our lived experiences.
Yes. Yes. No, I 100% agree with you. Like, full stop. I honestly couldn't say it any better. You got that, girl.
I'm curious when the first time, like, we're talking all about the importance of authentic representation. When was the first time that you truly felt seen or you truly felt represented? Because now you're a part of building that for other people, but what was it for you?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. For disability, I will say, and a wheelchair user. I don't know if I've ever felt seen or represented because I've seen a Black woman with a disability who was a wheelchair user in film, TV, commercials. I don't remember ever seeing it and be like, oh my God, there she is. Or even as a young child, prior to disability, I would say the way I felt seen or represented was like, seeing Raven Simone and That's So Raven, because she was like quirky and she was funny and she made funny faces. And that was like the kind of person that I was. I'm a silly girl. You know what I mean? So it was like, that was probably like the closest. And like when honestly, like, even though I know this actor isn't disabled in real life, I did feel seen when I saw the first Creed, where Tessa Thompson was losing her hearing. And I don't know, just something about that character felt representative of me because, she came from the city neighborhood of Philly. She loved music. Although she was losing her hearing, she was still a beautiful Black woman with a disability. And that was like the closest I could have ever gotten or felt like, oh shit, like they're representing us now. But I don't think I've ever seen it except for when I'm on when I'm
You
on
are
set.
the representation.
Yeah, when I am the representation, that's when I feel seen because the cast and the crew all like show love and want to make sure that I'm good the whole time. But outside of me, no, I even to this day, like I don't think that there's anybody that I look to that I'm like, oh shit, that's me too. Like,
and that's why you are who you are, and why you do it. I mean, trust me, if I was asked that question, I would also be like I don't think I have yet. I feel that because I mean, we just don't get representation, and any representation I see, I'm like, no, that ain't it. Yeah. That's not it.
Exactly. Or for me, like the intersections of my identity are not ever fully represented.
Yeah.
Like, sure, I'll see a wheelchair user, but it's probably a white man, which is so completely opposite of me. Or I'll see, someone, maybe she is Black, but she's not in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? So it's like all three of my identities have not been represented outside of me. And that's the part that I'm constantly like wanting to advocate for, because I got the messages of the girlies that do look like me all the way through, sending me messages like, oh my God, girl, finally somebody, da 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 da, like whatever they say. And so for me, I'm just like, okay, I have to keep doing this work. And as much as I love to work, I also want people to have options. Like, I want other Black girls with disabilities who are wheelchair users or however they show up to be represented too. But it's just like
and also it's like if somebody else like you gets hired, then you finally get to see somebody else like you.
Exactly.
So it's like it benefits everybody. Everybody when we all succeed.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to get your take on, like, as somebody who is a disabled woman working in entertainment. We all know, if you listen to my podcast or you watch my social media, you know my take on authentic representation and hiring disabled actors. You raised the point of that character in real life was not disabled. It was a non-disabled actor playing that character.
Yeah.
What is your take on authentic casting?
Woo! Yes. So, full stop. I always want characters that are written for disability to be represented by an actual person with that disability. Because I know how hard it is to get a role, period. Disabled or not disabled, getting work in Hollywood is not easy at all, right? For anybody. But it's even more difficult for disabled actors because we typically don't get booked for the audition for roles that don't call for disability to begin with, right? So that one time someone thought with their imagination, because all this starts from somebody's imagination, unless they're telling like a biopic of somebody's real life, right? But outside of that, a majority of the stories that are told in Hollywood are fake. They're not real. So the one time that a director or writer thought to write a character with a disability, this is our time to shine. So when the non-disabled actor still gets booked for that role, then it's like, when are we ever going to be able to live out our dreams as disabled actors and performers and talent, right? So that is literally how I feel about it. Now, I do understand, like, for instance, like Ray. Ray was a true biopic of Ray Charles. He was blind. He was an artist and everything like that. Jamie Foxx was not blind, and we know this, right? But I think for that, it makes sense, right? Of like why it had to be done that way. Unless, I don't know if they ever did their due diligence as casting to find a Black man that favored Ray Charles's face and was blind and could play the piano like Ray. I don't know if they did their due diligence. So in those cases, I'm like, okay, I could kind of understand it. And even in the case of Creed, like, I would have loved to know that the woman playing opposite Michael B. Jordan in that film, by the way, could have been an actual disabled girl with who had low hearing or hearing loss to be able to play opposite him, because she would have been able to do her job. And this is no shade to Ryan Coogler or whatever, because I love Ryan, I love Michael, I love everybody, I love Tessa. But I'm like, damn, I wish they would have done their due diligence. But with what Ryan Coogler did with Sinners, where they had Black ASL interpreters so people can watch Sinners on HBO Max, I was like, okay, this is a good push in the right direction, because there were no disabled characters in Sinners that I recognized. So, okay, if they're not going to be represented in the character, then let's make the film as accessible as possible for the community to be able to be involved.
Yes. Everything you just
Yes.
said. Yes, and.
Yes, and.
I also get frustrated with when non-disabled people are playing disabled characters.
Yeah.
Not just because of every exact thing you just said, but on top of that, it's like the lack of authenticity they bring to the role is harmful.
Yes.
And I even just think, like, there's this show on Netflix, and I can't even think of the name, but I've been hearing a lot of wheelchair users talk about it. It's like a new show on Netflix, and a lot of them are like a lot of people are very conflicted because they're like, I love the storyline and the character's personality and backstory and all this stuff, but the actress is not a wheelchair user. And so it's like,
what show is this?
I can't remember the name. It's really bugging me. But everybody's like, yes, this character is so good. Like, it's apparently like this woman who has a high-powered job and she like sleeps around a lot and like she's sassy and like all of these things that we don't see of disability, right? Like having a super successful job, being a little slutty,
right?
Like doing the damn thing, like being sassy and smart and funny and successful and all the things. But it's like, but why on earth could we not have just also cast authentically? Because what I think about this is, and I think the character is meant to be paralyzed, but say that's the case. Even if it isn't, say that's the case, and the character is meant to be paralyzed. Beyond just sitting in a chair, what does paralysis do? It changes the physical appearance of your legs, right? Your muscles shrink. You don't have the same muscle tone. Your, perhaps depending on your level of injury, your lower core might be a little bit softer. Those are things that there's no acting your way into.
No.
That is just a physical characteristic that needs to and deserves to be represented, because if we're representing something like paralysis, but we're doing it with a body that isn't paralyzed and doesn't look paralyzed, then it's not authentic representation. And it's A, misrepresenting paralysis for people who don't know anything about paralysis.
Absolutely.
And B, it is for those who are perhaps newly paralyzed. And they look at that and their body doesn't look like that one day. It brings this like level of insecurity around your own body identity. And like that representation matters.
Absolutely.
Or like all the things that person could talk to the writers about and be like, hey, like the dysautonomia that my paralysis causes. Or hey, like let's talk about like my like a bowel protocol. Like that would be an interesting part for the character. That actress doesn't know any of those things.
None of them.
And or something like, I think about even if that character is transferring.
Mm-hmm.
The way
You
that
transfer is... yes.
you just
Yes,
will
you
use
just
your
will.
legs. You
Yes.
just will.
Yes.
Like, I can't act my way in to transferring without using any level of muscle strength in my
Correct.
core or legs.
Correct.
Because I have it.
Yes.
And so there is no way of acting around that.
Exactly.
In the way that an actress who is paralyzed
Right.
will not just correctly know the technique,
Yes.
but will properly move their
Yes.
body in a way that is authentic to that lived experience.
Right.
These
Because
are
it's their reality.
because it's their reality.
Yes.
And, like, it just is the way their body is.
Yes.
And, like, I remember going to an audition once, and, like, I know I nailed that damn audition, and I know I
Period.
almost got the role, but guess what? A sighted girl got the role. Why? Because she played with the other main character in another film. So, and he was on the casting, because he was, like,
God,
casting for his younger child.
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh, so annoying.
Yeah.
Again, the favoritism, the nepotism, all the things.
Hollywood is just where
It's messy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I nailed that damn audition. But I remember
Period.
being in the audition room, and there was blind actresses and there was sighted actresses. And one of the moms of one of the blind girls auditioning, she had the balls. And she asked
Period.
this sighted little girl, she was like, it's so funny because the character was supposed to be 12. Girl, I was 21. But did
Listen.
I look 12? Absolutely. Absolutely, I did.
Period.
I convincingly was 12.
Period.
And so she asked this, like, young actress who was going into the audition but was sighted. She said, I'm curious how you plan to portray blindness if you're a sighted actress.
Ooh.
And this 12-year-old girl, just oh so confidently, is like, oh, I just plan to, like, look at the ceiling.
Oh! No! I'm okay.
And I was like,
I cannot.
That's just not.
That's just not.
Stop.
That's that shit I'll be talking about. That is literally why it's like, and for people to not be appalled by that or offended by it or have no remorse or no thought of this is wrong or this is inappropriate or whatever the case is, further lets me know how much work still needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Because what is that? That is so out of line. I literally cannot.
And the thing
I don't
is,
even have
too,
words,
the
child.
reality is,
I'm so
look,
overwhelmed.
right, it gets me so heated.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, on these sets, say a sighted actress books a role. On set, they will have somebody who teaches the sighted person to be blind.
Jesus.
They hire somebody to teach them how to be blind. Or, oh, I don't know, we could just hire a blind person and not need to hire a second person to teach them how to be blind. We could just hire the person who is a good actor and already knows how to be blind.
Literally.
Why not that?
Why? And I think that's the thing is just like, Hollywood itself is just an industry that is its own world. That's all I can really say about it. But it's all about the like we were saying earlier, making people comfortable. I feel like because sets are predominantly non-disabled people, and let's also be clear, those are just it appears to be predominantly non-disabled because we haven't even talked about people with non-visible disabilities. So it's like, it's assumed that it's predominantly non-disabled people. So because of that, they want to create an environment where they don't have to be aware of accessibility and be scared of, did I ask the right question? Am I approaching this person the right way? Nobody wants to learn. And because they don't want to learn, they just do and create spaces that make them comfortable instead of doing what actually would make something 10 times better, because to their ignorance, they don't think that it would make a difference if an actual disabled person played in a disabled role.
They don't even think twice about it because they're like, well, acting is about being able to play different characters.
Just because you're not a murderer in real life doesn't mean that you can't play a murderer in a film. It's just like, yeah, but that's a completely different thing. Like, that's an action. Everyone could imagine murdering somebody if you've gotten pissed off enough.
But we also don't expect men to play women.
That part.
We also don't expect white people to play an Asian person or a black person.
But they've fucking done it. That's the thing.
They did, yes. I mean,
in Hollywood, they've done it. They not that I've seen the movie, so if I'm wrong, we could just cut this out. But why is Tom Cruise playing The Last Samurai? Tom Cruise?
wait, actually?
Yes. Wasn't it Tom Cruise or was it Tom Hanks?
No, you're right. It was, but he plays a white Civil War warrior who then winds up getting captured by Japanese, and then he learns the samurai way. But anyway,
But it's still stupid. It's still stupid. But it's just like it's or Elizabeth Taylor playing Cleopatra. Cleopatra is Egyptian in Africa. Elizabeth Taylor is nowhere near that. She wasn't nowhere near that. It's just like so many different things that has happened over time like that. That is just like, we've got to stop.
Yeah, thankfully,
We've just got to stop the
I feel like
bullshit.
that stuff is like slowly changed, and Hollywood's clued in, and they've got it, and they've like stopped doing gender
egregious
or
stuff.
race. So it's like,
Yes.
okay, next up, disability.
And
It
that's
is
all
the
it is.
same.
That's all it is. Like, I feel like they've cleaned it up because there's been enough backlash
Yes,
about it.
and we just need to shout loud enough.
We need to shout loud enough, and we need to shout louder, and we need to shout more, and we need to do it in a way where people, please let me know if my friend texts me, where people want to take it serious enough. Because I'm tired of people waiting until it's them to realize, oh, wait, this is a problem.
Mhm.
Like, no, you should know it's going to inevitably happen to you, a loved one, or whatever the case is. So fucking fix it now. So
Well, that's what I always say. Like, fix it now, so when you or your loved one need it, it's there.
it's there.
And so you don't have to go through the hardship and the fight to get it.
Exactly.
But to your point, it's like people don't want to have to like make sets accessible and go through all these hoops.
Right.
So they just want to stay in their comfort zone. But because they're uneducated. But how do we educate? Representation.
Right.
So it's like this vicious cycle.
Right.
But on the positive side,
Yes.
you, way more than me, have had some actual real breakthroughs and like proper roles.
Yes.
I mean, you were in Sex Life of College Girls.
Yes. What a time.
Tell
And
me
to your
about that.
point, to your point with Sex Lives, I was 35 playing 18. So, baby, when you could pass for a different age, go ahead and take advantage of that. Full stop. Okay. So, being on Sex Lives was an interesting experience. It was so much fun. Absolutely love my cast. Given that at the time I was 35 for season 1, even when the show unfortunately got canceled, I was still the oldest of all of my castmates, which really made me feel like, oh my God, what's happening? But we had a great time. The sets, that's one thing I will give credit to with every production that I've been able to be a part of is like, the crew and the cast did not play about me. Like, they were like, let's make sure this is accessible. Lolo showing up. Like, my team didn't even have to like fight for it. All they did was educate more. It's just like, okay, Lolo needs a trailer. Well, what does that look like? How can we make that happen for her? Let's build something out for her. Da 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 da. Like, literally, like, all of those things happen. Now, that's one of the biggest disparities in Hollywood is just like, there's not enough trailers for people who use mobility devices on set. So it's like, I was using one of like the first trailers or like the only ones that exist. Or I was like in a room like on the lot because we shot on the Warner Brothers lot. And so that experience was just really, really great. I felt incredibly supported. Our showrunner, Justin Noble, he would show up to like my speaking engagements just like on his own, like in between filming, like when I did do other things and there was time or when we weren't filming. Like, he was so supportive. Mindy was so supportive. Like, everyone was really, really great. I thoroughly enjoyed my experience on Sex Lives. I wasn't on set like as much as I would have loved to, but that's just the nature of the game.
Tell me, other than the trailer, like, for those who are like, accommodating disabled people is so hard on set.
Right.
Like, outside of needing to get a wheelchair accessible trailer, what other accommodations did they need to make for you?
So there was a couple of locations that just were not naturally accessible, and there was no way of making it naturally accessible. So they had to get ramps, like a bunch of ramps, like all the time. It was like just a bunch of fucking ramps all the time. But there was a bunch of ramps that, they used to have. And then even if the ramp was like a little steep, the crew was there to help like push me up the ramp. I was always able to have somebody on set with me, like as my aide. What else? There was just like little roundabout ways that they were able to find a way for me to get on the set directly and then like be placed. And when I voiced after season 1, I told production and, the writers and even our showrunner, I told him, I was like, I love playing my character of Jocelyn, but all of season 1, she was stuck behind a table. And I would love for there to be some opportunities for me to have movement with my chair or be able to have my chair fully seen in at least the wide shot first. And then we can pull into tights and over the shoulders and all that kind of stuff. But I would really love to see that more often for season 2. And they did. Like season 2, it was like almost every scene started off with me moving some kind of way or going like in a certain direction, or they would tell me like, okay, this is the wide, Lolo, so just be mindful of your blocking here and like that kind of thing. So they really heard what I had to say, and they really and what I loved the most is like the dialogue never centered around my disability.
That's what we want. We just want disability to simply exist in
Exactly.
life the way it does.
Exactly. And everyone like loved that, and I was able to portray that because that was my experience in college. I was turning up. I was going to the parties. I was getting drunk. I was getting high. I was doing all the things. Like that was my experience, and I was surrounded by non-disabled friends.
Yeah, you're like, I'm just method acting, actually.
If we could be honest, I kind of was. The only thing I always say is like Jocelyn was a little bit more of an asshole than I am like in real life. But other than that, it was just like everything else was like my true experience. And that's what I loved about it. So I will give them so much credit for that. And honestly, every set, Tracy Lehman with Bob Trevino Likes It and Kirill Mikanovsky and Alice Austin for Give Me Liberty, like everyone heard what I had to say and applied it. And no one felt ashamed or like too prideful or felt like I was being some sort of like diva asking for these things. No, everyone was like completely cool with it.
They respected you
100%.
as the authority in your lived experience.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm curious if you ever, like, you say you felt comfortable, like, advocating for what you did want. Was there ever a time that you felt like you had to advocate and be like, that's not authentic to the lived experience of, like, a Black woman in a wheelchair going to college? Because I know, like, when I think of, and I'm like, first off, I'm so proud of you for like stepping up and saying that.
Yeah.
When you were like, hey, this is the type of representation we want.
Yeah.
Because I know with my younger self, as somebody who's been on many, many sets, not for like scripted media, but many sets in general, the amount of times in my early career where I'd be asked to do something and I would just do it. Because we all know, like, on set, oftentimes talent, particularly talent who's a no-name, has no fucking power.
Yeah.
Like, you're just there to be a dance monkey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the older I've gotten, like at this place now, these last couple years of my career, if I am ever like on a set for a commercial shoot and they ask me to do something that isn't, I'm like, absolutely not. No, that wouldn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
This is how I would do it.
Yeah.
And like, I tell them because
100%.
I have realized at this point, I've like gotten to the place in my life, in my career, my self-confidence and my advocacy that like, they're hiring me because of who I am, because I am the expert in the lived experience of a blind woman.
Exactly.
And so if they're directing me to do something that just isn't authentic or wouldn't work or isn't how I would do it, I'm going to say it because that's why they hired me. That's what they want me to do.
Literally.
And so it's like, and I've never had anybody like push back. I've had them have to be like, ooh, okay, let's try to rework this. Like, what would you do? Ooh, that doesn't work for our shot, though. Okay, let's like collaborate and find a happy medium and find something that does work and like just shift the scene a little bit.
100%.
But like, have you ever felt like when you were on set that you had to be like, hey, that thing that you want me to do, like that's just not how it would be done. So we can't do that.
Ooh, that's a wonderful question. You know what? if I could be completely honest, based on my own memory, and maybe producers or something could remember better than I do, I don't remember having to do that at first. So what happens is like on set, we typically like rehearse our blocking, right? And so when we rehearse the blocking, that's when I'm able to see like, oh, wait, the way you guys originally thought, this isn't going to work because I need to be able to pivot my chair this way or whatever the case is. And so because everyone is in the mindset of wanting to get the blocking right for the shot, there is no like, there wasn't any uncomfortability around whether or not I felt comfortable enough to advocate for that moment because everyone was there. They wanted to get it right. So they're like, okay, if we need to move this or bring the table down lower or reblock this some kind of way, like everyone was okay with it. And on Sex Lives, at least, when they were rehearsing blocking, they did have somebody as like my double who they used a manual wheelchair because they kind of just needed it to be that way to kind of like navigate equipment and all that shit. But they used that as a way to like do a placeholder rehearsal blocking before I even got on set, which is actually, and a lot of people will probably be like, well, that's kind of dumb. Why won't they just do you? But
That's standard.
That's standard.
Yeah.
That's the way talent should be treated.
Mhm.
Talent does not need to be on set until it's time to roll tape.
Yeah, stand-in is like that's literally an entire job in Hollywood. Like I know somebody whose whole damn job is being a stand-in.
Literally.
And that's what they do for blocking scenes.
Exactly.
I am really intrigued to know though, the person who was your stand-in, were they actually a wheelchair user?
They were not. Yeah, I know. I thought about it later and I was like, oh, we should have just got a disabled girl who would have known.
I would have loved if they were because again, they would have blocked it more authentically because they know
exactly
that's their movement every day.
Yeah.
But also like it's a job that could have gone to a disabled person.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But like something to advocate for next time because there will be a next time.
There will be a next
something to
time.
advocate.
Absolutely.
The one that comes to mind for me is like a lot of my work is in commercial and hosting. And so like a lot of stuff where I'm like walking and talking to camera.
Oh,
and I've had situations and like walking and talking with my guide dog or my cane, not a problem. Like I can do that all the live long day.
Yeah.
But the odd time they've wanted me with my guide dog to say like walk and talk for 5 steps, hit my mark, stop, but I'm continuing to talk. So it's like a seamless take where I walk, stop, and I'm talking the whole time. The problem with that is when you have a guide dog, I have to tell him rest. I have to give him the command to stop walking.
Oh.
So I can't be like mid-sent, like I can't just be like, welcome to today's episode of Rest. What it's like with Molly like I can't do that.
Right.
I can't do that. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, since
that's so interesting.
Right. And they're like, well, since you know it's 5 steps and then you're stopping, can't you just physically stop? And then the dog will stop. I'm like, no, because that's mistraining him. Like then I am training him to do something that is not correct. Because for my safety, I need to be consistent with his training.
Sure.
So that he always knows I don't stop first. Elton John stops first. Then Molly stops. And if I start training him that if I stop and pull on your harness, you stop.
Yeah.
Like, that is not how it goes.
Oh.
And so it's like stuff like that where I'll have to be like, hey, guys, we got to like work out a new shot. Like, that's just not
I
gonna work.
love that. First of all, I love that. I love that you felt comfortable enough to advocate for it. But because to your point, because Hollywood is such an industry where it's like you could just be replaced, you don't want to take that chance. And because when you're a disabled talent, it's like, you know that this job is 1 in a million, more likely than not. So it's like you don't want to risk pissing somebody off or making somebody feel guilty or ashamed because you just wanted to advocate for your needs. But to your point, it's like I feel like when people hire me, they do their research. So it's like, if you hired me, you know I'm going to say something if something ain't right. You know what I mean? And so being able to have that voice and share is imperative because, in fairness, I will say sometimes I don't think we give some non-disabled people enough credit around their willingness to learn or their willingness to get it right. And when you feel like you're in a space where someone is actively wanting to learn and get better and everything else, then it's like, take advantage of that and teach everybody right there, right then. Like, absolutely.
And we have to remember that just as much as we advocate that disabled people are not a monolith, non-disabled people are also not a monolith.
Yes.
So when we're like bitching and venting and ranting about the non-disabled people, just know, like, we're talking about the extreme ones.
Yes.
We're talking about the ones that are actively discriminating.
Exactly.
We're talking about the ones who are, like, actively faking a service dog or think it's completely okay for non-disabled people to play disabled characters. Like, we're talking about those people. We're not talking about all, like, my fiance is non-disabled.
Yeah.
He's an incredible human without an ounce of ableism in his body.
Yeah.
You know, or my parents or my, you know, like, I have plenty of non-disabled people in my life that I love that are incredible humans.
100%.
It's, you know, it's the extreme ones.
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about intersectionality.
Sure.
You brought that up earlier. Your identity as a Black person, as a woman, as a disabled person. Have you found community where you feel like every aspect of your identity has been able to be seen and understood? Because we talk a lot in the disability community about intersectionality as a concept, right?
Yeah.
That we are the only minority community that intersects all minority communities.
Yeah.
So want to hear about your lived experience with that.
Oh, that's a wonderful question. You know what? I will be completely honest. I feel like when I am in disability-centered spaces, that my identity as a disabled person has to outshine all of my other identities. That's what people ask me about. That's what people are like constantly relating to me to. It's almost as if you're disabled, the fact that you're a Black woman is non-existent in this space, but non-existent in a way that isn't respecting that the existence of my other identities need to be here too.
Yes.
You know? But when I'm in predominantly Black spaces, if I could be honest, I do feel the most comfortable in those spaces because I feel like my culture as a Black woman and as Black people, we are way more accepting of people, the way we show up, different cultures in a way that other cultures have not accepted us equally. So being Black and disabled doesn't feel like, oh, there goes the disabled girl in the wheelchair. Like, it's not that. It's just like, I'm showing up. I'm a Black woman. Okay, then you're with us. Like, this is your community, you know? And there's never really any major tokenizing of any kind of way, or if anything, there's like this extreme excitement of wanting to be sure that I am accepted for everything and how I'm showing up. Like the amount of lap dances I get every time I go to a function, it's just like, I know it's their way of like being like, hey, we ain't tripping off of that.
Right, it's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. Like, because my cousin is probably disabled, or my auntie, or my uncle, or my parents. Like, it's not a big deal. And I really love that sense of community, like being Black does for me. And I feel like because I am more often than not in those spaces than any other kind of space, that it does add to my own sense of confidence and self-worth and love for myself that I don't typically get in other ways.
I feel like for disabled people who, and I'm just like thinking of this in the moment, right? Like, based on what you just said, I'm thinking about that idea that, like, first off, it makes me sad that you feel like when you're in disabled spaces that your Black identity is like not seen.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of like, why could that be? And I'm thinking, perhaps is it that for disabled people who do not experience any kind of intersectionality, like for me, who is, well, you know, I'm a woman, but beyond that, like I am straight, I am cis, I am white, right? So I don't experience significant amounts of discrimination in any other identity outside of my disability. And so for me, disability is my biggest barrier, is my biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Yes, I face discrimination as a woman from time to time, but predominantly it's my disability overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
That's way more impactful in my day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we like see and feel.
Yeah.
And so it can be one of those things where it's like we're seeing other people with disability and we're immediately like clocking and bonding over that.
Yep.
And I think for me, as somebody who has so many friends with different identities as minorities, not just disability, like I have plenty of friends who are minorities and have no disability.
Yeah.
So I am always, and I have plenty of friends like you who sit at different intersectionalities. And I'm always trying to be very consciously aware of the layers of privilege in that.
Yeah.
And like the fact that I, as a disabled woman, likely do not face the level of discrimination that you have as a Black disabled woman.
Absolutely.
And like it's so important for us as disabled people to be allies for other minorities. Because at the end of the day, as minorities, what we're all looking for is equity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the discrimination we might feel for different parts of our identity might be different, but we all understand the feeling of discrimination.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that's what we need to remember is how that makes us feel.
Yeah.
Not the action that caused it or the reason it's existing, but the feeling it brings.
Yes.
And transferring that to other lived experience of minorities and being like, okay, how do we all collectively like understand layers of privilege and a nuance and uplift each other?
Absolutely. No, and I love how self-aware that you want to be of that, because it is a real thing. Like, especially as a Black woman, like to know statistically, these are real numbers and statistics, that when a Black woman goes to a doctor's office, her pain is not treated in the same way that a white woman or any other woman outside of Blackness gets treated. Like, and to know that, and then you're living with disability on top of that. I'm sorry, disability is not the only thing that I have to be mindful of. You don't have to worry about your fiance going out into the world and wondering whether or not he's going to come back home.
Yes.
I have to worry about that with my brother, with my homeboys, with my homegirls, like everybody. And that is an experience, disability or not, that nobody understands unless you're in it as a Black person. So I feel like sometimes with disability, because the experience is very unique within itself, the only way people want to find a way to relate to each other is through the trauma stories, right? And they want to be able to say, oh, well, because we're disabled, we get it. And it's like, to an extent.
Exactly.
But there's so many other things that I have to factor in that you simply will never have to factor in. And because of that, I feel like people undermine that in the disability community, because they're like, oh, well, I get discriminated against because this place isn't accessible to me. But it's like, but you got that job over me, and I know exactly why you did.
Right.
There's things that are happening in my personal life that you never have to think about, that has nothing to do with your disability, but I have to think about it. And that's another layer. Even when it comes to dating, Black women statistically are the least swiped to be matched with somebody, and the least to get a message back from a match that they get. Statistically, every one of those apps. So it's like...
And so it's then, for you, it's like you add then also being in a wheelchair.
Exactly.
And you're on those apps. And it's like, you know that there's this extra level of barrier.
Exactly. And so when you're consistently oppressed, no matter how hard you try to fight, no matter how loud, I'm sorry, like, if disability is the only thing you have to worry about, me and your experiences are not the same level. And it's not to say like mine is more, because also I'm not gay, right? So I am cisgender and I am a straight woman. So I don't know what the experience is if you add that on top of being a Black woman with a disability who may be lesbian or trans or whatever the case is. So I'm like, I'm not saying this as a way of like a hierarchy, but I think sometimes the disability community tends to forget the other layers of identities that play into our same existence in the world.
Yes, I really, and listen, I'm not going to say I always get it right.
Right.
But what we need to do is try.
Yes.
And what really stuck out to me as well about what you had said previously was how you feel like the Black community is so welcoming because you know what it's like to not feel welcomed.
Yes.
And it's so interesting because that is how I approach everything. Is like, I know what it feels like to be discriminated against, to feel not accepted, to feel less than, that I never want other people to feel that way.
Yes.
I never want me to be the reason other people feel that way.
Absolutely.
Which is why I try my best to seek out content from Black creators, from trans creators, from gay creators, from immigrants, from people with lived experiences that I don't have.
Yeah.
Because that is the only way I can learn.
Absolutely.
And if I want people who don't have my lived experience to learn about mine, I damn sure better be trying to learn about theirs.
That part.
If I don't want people discriminating against me and accidentally doing or saying the wrong thing, then I better be trying my damnedest to make sure I don't do that to them.
Absolutely.
And all I can do is my best, and that's equally all I'm asking from other people. And I think that's all any minority is asking.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that is why it is so important as a minority to have friends who are minorities that are different from your minority lived experience.
Correct.
It is so, so, so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think ultimately all it really boils down to is communication, having conversation, and having conversation with people with different points of views, right? Because then when you start layering in all these other factors that come into like being sure you're talking to the right people about whether it's disability, race, gender, sexual identity, all those different things, it's like you got to get a breadth of people. You can't just talk to the one person that you're the most comfortable with and then take their word as gold as like, well, my disabled friend loves being called handy capable. I'm telling you this shit right now. Don't you ever in your fucking life dare. Don't you dare.
Don't you dare.
Don't you dare. Because
Cringe.
the general consensus is we don't like that word. But you wouldn't know if you didn't continuously do the research around what it means to interact with people with disabilities in our community. And on the other side, whether it's gender or race or ethnicity or sexuality, like you cannot only hear from the one voice that you're the most comfortable with.
Yes, so much yes. And it truly is. I'm not trying to say what I, Molly, prefer as language. I'm trying to say what the general consensus is from the disability rights advocacy space.
Exactly.
Generally, these are the things we prefer. These are the things we don't.
Absolutely.
That is the majority.
Absolutely.
There will always be outliers who call themselves differently abled.
Right.
And I don't even get into that.
Things, yeah.
Most of us hate that.
Yes.
They're allowed to have that as their preference, and you, as their loved one, can follow their preference.
Absolutely.
However, if the majority of us are saying don't do something, generally don't do it.
Yes.
Like,
it's that simple.
Yes, it's that simple. But to your point, it's why it's so important to seek out many voices. And it's why we've been talking this whole time about why representation from many people is so important.
Absolutely.
It's not about Lolo and Molly succeeding.
Yes,
It's about many blind creators and many wheelchair users and many Black women. And we need all of it.
Everything.
From every angle.
Absolutely.
It matters. We could just talk forever. We could talk for days.
We can yap for days. Absolutely.
We have covered so much good stuff.
Yes.
But I want to end this with the awkward question.
Okay.
The awkward question is something that people might be wondering.
Yeah.
But are too scared to ask. And I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
And you're allowed to say no.
Okay.
And we'll pivot.
Okay.
But I feel like you're such an open book from everything
I'm
I know
so
about
excited
you
for whatever this is about to
that
be.
I feel like if I'm going to ask anybody, it's you.
Yes.
We talked about the sex life of college girls.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about the stigmas around physical intimacy as a wheelchair user?
Ooh, girl. We only got a little bit of time left. Here's the stigma around disability, and I think it is more particular to wheelchair users and I can't even say women because men get this too a lot, is there is this assumption that if you're in a wheelchair that your private parts, what's the better word for private parts?
Your bits.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
Let's be anatomically correct. Your bits.
Yeah. Your coochie. There's this assumption that your stuff don't work. For whatever reason, right? And mind you, like for men, I understand that if there's spinal cord injury, because obviously it does cause paralysis down there. But the idea for women, I'll speak for women specifically, so we can edit it around for women. But for women, there's like this assumption that like there isn't a hole down there to insert yourself in. Genuinely, like the questions that I get always is like, well, how does that work? I'm like, well, how have you had sex with other women before? Same freaking thing. Now, if you're asking me whether or not I can feel it, that is a slightly different question, because paralysis for many people with spinal cord injury, they cannot feel from the waist down. Got it. But ask the right question. And again, it's like whether I can feel it or not, the action itself is still the same. I literally told someone before who asked me that, I said, well, it's not sewn up down there. It's still there. It's still the same thing. So this stigma of like, we don't enjoy sex, that we're not sexual beings, that we don't want sex, that we have to be in a relationship to want to have sex, this idea that you may hurt me unless you're doing like some other wild off the chain shit. For the most part, I'm gonna be okay. Like, you know what I mean? But we do have to have a conversation. And I've told men before, I'm like, look, if you're expecting me to perform like a porn star, you got the wrong girl. I'm not the one. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. So, like, if this matters to you that much, then yeah, leave me alone.
Then it's a deal breaker.
Then it is a deal breaker. You know what I mean? And I think that's been like the biggest stigma around it, is that we don't want it, or we don't desire it, or that we can't do it anymore. And that is not the case.
And I think what is so important in these kind of conversations when it comes to physical intimacy and disability is remembering that sex looks different for everybody, disabled or not.
Exactly.
And a couple where both individuals are not disabled,
yes,
could have entirely different intimacy from what regular non-disabled couples have.
Yes.
Because that's just what works for them. And that's what they enjoy.
Exactly.
And this idea that everybody does it the same is not factual.
Literally.
The idea that intimacy means one thing, like stick in hole, is just not true. There's so many ways to be physically intimate and close with your partner
100%.
that don't rely on that.
Yes.
And so whether or not a disabled woman can want that, enjoys it,
period,
doesn't matter. There's still ways beyond that to
exactly
experience physical intimacy as a couple.
Exactly.
And you know what? Who's to judge? Like, say there's a couple where one person like remove disability entirely. One person's, say, asexual.
Yes.
And they don't want sex, period, but their other partner does. Maybe the workaround for them is that you can sleep with partners outside of our relationship, and what our relationship is about the physical or the emotional intimacy and the mental connection and the friendship dynamic. Everybody's relationships look different.
Exactly.
But because whenever disability enters the equation,
it's like this whole other like blanking of the mind that is just like, why is that even happening? You know, like if your specific question is like, okay, I see, you know, your arms don't move as well, or your hands or whatever, your legs, how do I physically help you through the process? Now we can have a conversation.
Yes.
But if you genuinely are like stuck on like, wait, well, how does it work? Penis in vajay.
Yeah, if you're confused about how it works, I think you're the problem.
You see what I'm saying?
But the question to ask is like, how can we make it work for
How
both of us?
can we make it work for both of us? How can I be sure that I'm pleasing you? And how can I make sure that I am being pleased?
And these are conversations every couple should be having.
Every couple needs to be having these conversations no matter what. If you are going into any situation where you're about to be intimate with somebody and there's this expectation that somebody should perform, and I put a lot of this on women too, of just like this extra pressure of like, men need to do all of this, that, and the third. My homegirl told me this. She said, people be out here lying. And I believe it, because everyone wants to walk around like they are the best in bed, like they're the most whatever, name the person that they think that they are, and they're not. They just simply are not. And that's the stigma that I feel like around sex in general, where everyone feels like they have to perform at this optimal level every single time with every single partner. And that's just not true. And so when you throw in disability with it, then for some reason people see us as like, oh, well, they already got a ding, like they're not going to be able to perform. It's like, well, how do I know you're going to be able to perform?
And guess what? Your non-disabled partner could get a back injury, could break their leg.
Literally.
And that changes the positions you do as a couple.
Literally.
That changes how you go about intimacy. So, like, disability can also be a temporary situation.
Exactly.
Pregnancy can be disabling for those 9 months. And that big round baby in the middle might change the way you go about your intimacy during that period of your relationship.
Absolutely.
And everything is fluid. Everything is... Anyway,
yes,
we got to wrap this thing up.
Yes, I know.
But thank you for going there with me.
Of course.
I just have one more very simple question for you. We started this by asking, who is Lolo Spencer?
Yeah.
And I want to end it by asking, what is it really like to be Lolo Spencer?
Oh, that is a great question. I would say what it's like to be me. I would say it's like making sure every day is like the funnest day that you can make it. That's literally how I go about my life. That's how I want people to see me. It's just like when Lolo shows up, it's going to be a good time. There's going to be good vibes because Lolo don't play that. Like, you know what I mean? Yes, I have my moments. Yes, I have my downtimes or whatever the case is. But to be me is to be fun, to prioritize joy, to prioritize laughter, to know that I was just trying to say this saying before, heavy is the head that wears the crown. I feel that too. I feel that pressure. I feel that responsibility. I feel that in every fiber of my being. But at the same time, I still am taking it with as much ambition as I can have for it, as much joy that I can add to it. And I'm not going to stop. Like that, being me is lit. No matter
I love this.
what. Like, no matter what. Like, it's going to be fly. It's going to be sexy. It's going to be a vibe. We're going to turn up. We're going to have a good time. But then we're going to get to work. And we ain't playing about work or our bags. And that's all I got to say.
Truly, I think by this point in this conversation, we can all see that you do, in fact, bring the vibes.
Yes.
And I can tell you, knowing you for 10 years, following you for just as long, that you do make disability sexy and fly and beautiful and desirable. Your fashion is always on point.
Thank you, boo.
The vibes are always on point.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. Where can people follow you to keep up with what's next for Lolo?
Oh my gosh. Everyone can follow me on every single platform at It's Lolo Spencer, ITSLOLOSPENCER. And join my newsletter, which is linked in all of my social media bios. So you can find it there or go on lolospencer.com/join newsletter, where I kind of get even more into the weeds around certain topics around disability and just my lived experience. And I'm sharing more personal stories there. And just follow me on all platforms.
Please do.
And YouTube, especially.
Yes. There is so much about your life and your career we weren't even able to scratch the surface on because
that's okay.
We just got into it. So there's so much more to Lolo. Please go check her out. Thank you for being here. Make sure you're following the podcast over on Spotify and, of course, subscribed here on YouTube. And now you know what it's really like.